The case I'm going to be doing today is Endrew F. versus the Douglas County School District. Some unfamiliar terms are IEP, which stands for the Individual Education Program, IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, ADHD, which is an Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, GED, which is a General Educational Development, and Disabilities in Education, which is an inability to learn that cannot be explained by intellectual, sensory, or health factors. Endrew F. was a minor with autism and an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, more likely known as ADHD. Andrew's conditions affected his learning and his social abilities. After his parents talked to the school and asked why he wasn't making any progress, his parents decided to go take him to a private school for children with autism. The private school was called Firefly House, and school took a behavioral assessment which was designed and implemented strategies to figure out why Drew's behaviors were so dramatically interfering with his education. After this was done, Andrew was then able to make significant progress after attending the school. The public school then made a new IEP for Andrew, and the parents rejected it as they noticed it did not include any of the approaches that were made at Firefly House. Andrew's parents then filed for a reimbursement for the tuition at Firefly House under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So here I have a list of everybody that was involved in this case. The findings of this case were that Andrew's parents argued that the IEP proposed by the public school was mostly unchanged from his previous IEPs, and under where he was making minimal progress. The state of education denied the claim, and Andrew's parents filed a lawsuit in the federal court. The district court ruled that the school district satisfied the requirements of the IDEA because the IEP provided Andrew with some educational benefits, even if it was just a bare minimum. The case was then taken back to the lower court, and it was decided that the district of the school had to pay the family for both the tuition and their legal costs. The district then owed $1.32 million to the family. A quote that I found memorable from this case was, "Children with disabilities should be aimed at the general educational curriculum." So what you do is you start with the general education curriculum that applies to all kids. Then you identify the child's disability and how it impacts that child's ability to participate and progress in that general education curriculum. I found this quote memorable because an education plan was made for Andrew, but it only helped reach the bare minimum, and he wasn't getting the educational requirements he needed to learn. What I believe that teachers should be aware of as they enter the teaching profession is that they're going to be children with disabilities and behaviors that can cause an interference with their education. We should make sure not to make assumptions and instead try to understand as if it is a problem. If it is, then a behavioral assessment should be taken to figure out whether a child's behavior is and if it can cause an interference with their education. As in this case it was, and it was the very first thing that the private school did in this situation. When learning and now creating an IEP for students, we are not able to make sure that the students are able to make an academic progress. And here I have a list of my references.